All right, so you're on episode one, really episode one, part two of the Asa Pickens story, and thank you for tuning in to watch this episode today. We really appreciate it, and I think you'll really enjoy this story. And like I had mentioned in episode one, part one, that he didn't, because of the amount of things that happened in his life, he didn't get through the entire story of him spending time in prison. And we're looking to make arrangements to have him come back and share the rest of his story up to how he's doing currently today. And so please comment on this video. It really helps us to see where you guys are at, what you think about the episode, and what you think about his stories, and what else you'd like to know, because if we have him back on, we'd love to answer those questions for you. And we thank you for your support. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video, and enjoy this episode. Thank you. Today you don't operate out of that same mindset, right? So what do you think you would do different if you were back then? And I guess you did kind of answer the question to some degree. You said you would ask.
Yes, but this is, I was saying this. There's a scripture, Hosea 4:6. My people perish for lack of knowledge. When we don't know that there's information out there, then we become ignorant. Stay ignorant.
Yeah.
We just got out of Black History Month. I don't know if you know.
Yeah, I didn't know that until you told me.
Everybody's Black History Month. Help a brother out. No, but so they said one of the things the slave owners did was keep the slaves uneducated. Because education, when they read the Bill of Rights, the freedom that they did no longer, it wasn't legal for them to be slaves. They were empowered. But as long as they didn't know, then they stayed a slave. And that's the same thing right here. Long as we don't know, that's the tactic of the enemy, to keep you from not knowing, because knowledge is power. This is unfortunate, but I heard this in a barbershop growing up. It said, if you want to keep something away from a black man, hide it in a book.
Wow. So that's real.
Yes.
And that's something, that's something everybody can do, is get more educated, right? I mean, you can just pick up a book, listen to a book. There's podcasts like this that you can educate yourself with. And that's what we're hoping to do, is help people get more educated.
Yes, sir.
To identify. So what are some ways that you feel like what are some tools that you started using, or that you started implementing, things that you started implementing to educate yourself? Because some people don't even know where to start other than...
Yeah, well, number one, the Word of God. It's me. Romans 12:2 says, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So going back to growing up, my uncle told me this, the same carpenter uncle. You're going to be dead or in jail by the age of 21. That's something that I and replayed. And then this is the mindset too. White man is not going to give you anything. I heard that growing up so many times, it's easy for me to tell you this. And so if you keep those mindsets, if you let the seed of those words take root, that will be your cap. And that's what you will go around life thinking, and that's when you'll go through life expecting.
Oh, wow. So you go hunting for the things that you've heard and that you've put into your mind.
That is your expectation.
Yeah.
That's what you're drawing. What is it? I can't think of it right now. The law of attraction.
The law of attraction.
The law of attraction. Yeah. And you know, a law is like the law of gravity. You boom, every time. The law of gravity, it works. Same thing with the law of attraction. You have an aroma about you, and it stinks or it smells good. So you're either repelling or you're drawing.
Wow. So how do I know? How do I?
Hello, that
How,
was good. Hey, wait a minute, let me take those. Aroma. Here, let me put that in my pocket. I'll come back to that one later.
So how do you know if you have that aroma? Because maybe people are thinking, well, I mean, I think people like me. I think people like to be around me, but I don't feel like they like being around me. Like, is that the aroma, or how do you identify that?
You can identify the aroma a lot about what comes out of a person's mouth.
Okay.
And I mean, because out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks.
Yeah.
And so, once again, a person's speech is gonna repel, draw you away, or their
Oh wow.
conversation evidently was beneficial that you desired to hear more. Now, if I was spewing out a whole bunch of trash, then I probably wouldn't have got this.
That's so good. That is so good.
Yes.
Yeah, that's real practical, right? But the information has to be put in there in order for it to come out.
Yes, in what we have in society and what we have in cultures, where it's black culture, white, Mexican, Indian, we've had wrong stuff put in. And so that's why we have to reprogram. That's why we have to renew. You need to get new information. I watched the movie. It's 24 years old. The Hurricane, and it's about a boxer, and Denzel Washington is the actor. I watched it the other day, and he's in a prison scene, and he's talking to a friend, and Denzel asks the guy, he says, "What do you think about white people?" Because he had a bad experience. Actually, his prison sentence, unlawfully unjust sentence, was due to the hands of white people. So he had a bitterness of white people. Same thing. I grew up. White people are devils. You better watch.
Yeah.
Them.
Wow.
Devils. And so, and the gentleman says, they're not all bad. That's what he tells Denzel. They're not all bad. But if we've got that in our heart, then there is our expectation. And God could use a white person to bless you to get you to your destiny. But because you've got that in your heart, you've put up a shield to let that in.
Wow. Well, I don't know if you know this or not, but the Amish religion or culture as a whole, they don't see too positively to black people. Like they don't invite black people into the community very much.
Yes.
And so I grew up with that.
Yes, sir.
And I wouldn't say that I ever bought into that.
Yes.
Because at our house we were taught to treat everyone equally.
Yes.
Like to respect everyone equally. So I'm thankful for that. My mom and dad did a great job with that. But there's still a big community out there that is of that mindset. And it sounds like it's the same with the black community towards the whites.
Yeah. Well, I can honestly say I grew up sports, won games, and been called niggers after the game. During the game. There is a town close to where I grew up that had a sign. Nigger, don't let me catch you in this town after dark.
Wow.
I've seen that. I've experienced rocks being thrown at a bus after the game winning. Beating an all-white team. I've experienced that. Seriously.
But you don't live with that mindset anymore.
No. And that's the number one. It's my identity in Christ. That's number one. Nobody can't shake me because I know who I am in Christ. You will not tell me because I'm black that I can't do nothing.
Wow.
End of conversation. I'm too deep in the game. You tell Pookie them that. Homeboy, I ain't buying that.
Okay, so that is a huge mindset shift.
Yes.
From where you were until to where you are today.
Exactly. And that's people, they believe the lies.
And they keep believing them.
Yes, a generational curse is passed down. Because you know what? My uncle got it from somebody.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he got it from somebody, and he got it from somebody.
Wow. Yep. And somebody has to put the stake in the ground and say no more.
Nope.
No more. And you brought up the Bible.
Yes.
But what if What if the people listening aren't religious and they
Yes.
don't want to,
Yes.
they don't want to participate in?
Once again, what's funny, the per se self-help books, they're all Bible based. They might have different titles, and people won't give credit that, hey, this is a scriptural principle. But what do most books say? Hey, you got to change your thinking. Hey, what do most self-help books say? You got to change what you're saying. You got to say good words. You can't say bad words about yourself, Johnny.
Wow.
It's the same principle. So educate yourself on renewing your mind, or if you're not you're not a Christian or something like that, transform your thinking. Change your thinking. You have to, in order to grow. Just because somebody who loves you told you something don't mean it's right. Just because a coach told you something don't mean it's right. Just because you heard it on the podcast don't mean that it's right. Just because a personal trainer said something don't mean it's right. Take time to educate yourself and know for yourself. You gotta know. And that's what's wrong with society. Society won't take time to know for themselves. They're too quick to take this as the gospel truth, instead of sitting down and educating themselves on the matter.
Yeah. And so you have to have the belief that the Bible is the truth. I mean, that's the foundation, right?
That is my foundation. And, some people might not believe in God, but I'm 46 chapters of proof. and continuing. I know it works to come from where I came from to be where I am now and to be where I'm going.
Yeah.
It's nothing but the principles of God that I apply daily on a daily basis.
Yeah, so let's get into that, because we talked about you ending up in prison at some point in time.
So we got to back up. Finish my college.
Okay.
Slow down, bro.
Slow down. The audience wants to get into this.
This is something in life. It goes back, marathon, not a race.
Yeah.
So I went through the junior college, LA. Boom. I had several teams look at me out of junior college. I was a good junior college football player. Oregon State, Louisville. I almost went to the University of Louisville.
Oh, wow.
Oklahoma State, even though I'm a Sooner, they have a vet program, a rodeo. They have a good vet program. They have a rodeo team, and then they also have a football team. So that was awesome to be able to college rodeo and play football. That would be awesome. But to make a long story short, you remember that one letter I told you about?
Yes.
San Diego State?
Yep.
I ended up going to San Diego State.
Oh, wow.
I ended up going to San Diego State. My first game was Thursday night. ESPN, Thursday night football against Arizona State, which 3 guys I played against played in the NFL, and 2 of them, one for sure, is a Hall of Famer. Todd Heap, tight end, played for the Baltimore Ravens. Terrell Suggs, linebacker, played for the Baltimore Ravens. Adam Archuleta, safety, played for the New York Giants.
Wow.
And so that letter that I thought I just got it because of my cousin, fast forward a few years later, I end up at San Diego State. I'm in Qualcomm Stadium, and I'm looking up, and tears are running down my eyes, my face. And I'm like, I'm here. And so the experience with San Diego, here we have our national championship team, college national championship team, the Michigan Wolverines. Their head coach, Jim Harbaugh. I got a picture with me and Jim Harbaugh. It was his last year as in the NFL with the San Diego Chargers. Junior Seau, one of the greatest linebackers ever, ended up killing himself. Neil Smith, another NFL Hall of Famer. And I got to experience all this stuff. Have you ever seen American Ninja Warrior?
Yes, a long time ago.
American Ninja Warrior. Okay, so they're the commentator on there, big black guy like myself, bald head. He's a little taller than me, but his name is Akbar Bijabia Miller. Well, Akbar was my teammate at San Diego State, and so now the world everybody knows the American Ninja Warrior, and now Akbar, he's on other shows, but everybody
Yeah.
knows Akbar from American Ninja Warrior.
Yeah.
But that go back to that letter that I thought just was because of my cousin. I end up playing at San Diego State University.
Mm.
So let me go from there. I end up getting turf toe on both of my toes, and so
What's turf toe?
Deion Sanders had it, and I didn't understand what it was. Well, my toenails were too long, and I jammed both my toenails, my big toenails, back into my toes. I've
Ooh,
knocked
that
both my
sounds painful.
yes, I've knocked both my shoulders out of socket, and turf toe is the worst injury I've ever had. Well, make a long story short, I really wasn't my best at San Diego State, and people call me crazy. There's twice that I've heard the audible voice of God, and when I was at San Diego State, the season was over, and I got some stories at San Diego State too. Uh, the Lord told me, said, I want you to call John or Jet at East Central. So we go back to my cousin who I was telling you that coached at Weatherford High School.
Yeah.
He ended up going to college
Mm.
coaching in in Oklahoma. And so I called Jet. Make a long story short, my defensive coordinator and the head coach at East Central and Ada were best friends, and the coach at East Central gave me a full scholarship just on the word of my defensive back coach at
Wow.
San Diego State. So I transferred from San Diego State to Oklahoma, back to
Oh,
Southern
okay.
Oklahoma. And everybody thought I was crazy. Now I still have a pursuit of the NFL. So my goal is the NFL. Nobody could tell me different.
Mm.
My cousin played in the NFL. I got another cousin that played in the NFL. I got friends that played in the NFL. I got teammates, and like I'm playing in the NFL. This is my pursuit. I'm playing in the NFL, and I'm going to be able to buy me a ranch. I'm going to play in the NFL, and I'm going to the places where I sold dope in the community of Ardmore. I'm going to be able to have United Way commercials and give back to my community and help build
Yeah.
up my community. You can't tell me different. My aunts that and family that helped me, I'm going to buy them cars and all the above. You couldn't tell me different that I wasn't going to play in the NFL. And so, transferred to East Central. I had to sit out because of my transfer, and so that was good. And now in this session of me moving, this is a part of my story. In this me moving back to Oklahoma, I worked at the community center. I've always been involved with kids in the community, from working at daycares to the community center. There was a program called AmeriCorps where kid camps. I did rodeo camps worked with kids, and so this is where I end up meeting my wife, my first wife, and who I have my son with. So I met Rhonda during this time. So I go on to East Central, sit out the first year, played the second year. Really wasn't getting used to my potential, and once again, I'm on a full scholarship.
Yeah.
I come to team meeting on Friday night, and it reeks of marijuana. And our head coach's son and his roommate, the backup quarterback, are high.
Oh, wow.
And I say, if this is East Central football, which it was obvious, then I don't want nothing to do with it. We had a game the next day. I didn't show up. Long story short, I gave up my scholarship. I got my scholarship. I believe in standing for what's right. And so with that, I got an agent after the season, and I started pursuing the NFL. So I have had tryouts for arena football teams. I've had tryouts for the CFL. I've
Oh,
had
wow.
tryouts that the Cowboys was there. I used to call the Dallas Cowboys office. Bill Parcells was the head coach. I used to call the Cowboys office every Monday morning and leave a message with Bill Parcells.
Mm.
And I said, all I got to do is get on the field.
Mm.
All I got to do is get on the field. Well, to keep going, I went to Oklahoma City and I was playing arena ball, and my goal was to get film to get into the NFL. And I was staying at my cousin Reba's house, her and her husband's house, and he was playing arena ball too, and he played at the University of Oklahoma. He was actually on the 2000 national championship team. And once again, in my quiet time, this is my second time, I heard the Lord say, I don't want you pursuing the NFL anymore. I want you to preach.
Wow.
And it was hard, and I'm crying and this and that. And so I tell people, you don't make deals with God. But I can honestly say this. I said, okay, Lord, I received the calling. But I know that it's not the lack of effort, the lack of ability, that I'm not can play in the NFL.
Yeah.
It's just your will. And so, rewind, I told you my grandfather was a chaplain,
Mm-hmm.
Reverend Hightower. And so, some of my kin people in Ardmore, I've had the nickname Preacher since I was little.
Oh, wow.
Now, I'm telling you my life story, but there was glimpses of me being used by God growing up. Like prayers. I can remember one time, like once a month, the young men sit with the deacons at the church, and we did the deacon duties, like do the offering and pray. And I can remember the deacons coming to my grandma's house and saying, "We've never seen a boy pray like this." And I've had the same deacons come to my house and say, "This boy's a hell raiser." And my grandma was like, "I need help, seriously."
Yeah.
And
wow.
So I can remember being outside of a crack house when I'm going back and forth to L.A. Because in L.A. I'd come home for the summer, and we're drinking Hennessy, and I throw up. And my friend Toby, he was my best man in my first wedding, and I say, "Man, this is a sign I need to stop drinking." And he says, "No, I think this is a sign you need to start preaching."
Wow. That's crazy.
And so at East Central, I started growing in the things of God. Now, God was working with me at San Diego State. I became celibate. And so I caught a lot of flack then. People, homos calling me gay and this and that. Because, I stopped drinking. I stopped cussing. Now, the last thing was smoking weed. And but God just started doing a work in me. And so end up getting married.
But you did stop smoking weed, right?
Yes.
How long ago was that?
Well, this was my sister who I was raised with, Sharonda. She had two girls, Felon, which is named after my grandmother who passed away, who raised me, and then Faith. And Faith, I named Faith. And so when I came home to East Central, I was staying with my sister on the weekends, and I'd babysit, and she had Faith, and Faith was a good baby. And I can remember putting her to bed, feeding her and this and that. And I went outside I'm weird like this. I went outside to light a blunt. And all of a sudden, she just starts screaming. She's in the house. She's never cried. And once again, now it could have been me and my goofiness. I was like, man, is this a sign God don't want me to smoke weed anymore?
Yeah.
Everything is a sign God don't want me to smoke weed or do something. And so I just automatically, I think one time after that, I smoked. But automatically stopped.
Wow.
And I've been smoking since I was in junior high. And then being in LA smoking chronic good weed, I mean, it was it was really hard. Funny story. You know, I grew up smoking joints and blunts. Well, I get to LA and there's good weed, and you're getting weed by the grams, not by 20 sacks and dime sacks. And then guys smoking in bowls and bongs. And so I had a bowl, and I brought it back to Oklahoma. And my homeboys, because we come from the crack scene, and it was like, man, I ain't smoking out there. That looked like a crack pipe. Well, we ain't wasting this and putting it in a blunt paper either.
Yeah.
And so, got married, and I want to say I was 24, I believe, when I got married. So I can say actually. And so Rhonda, my ex-wife, she had two daughters, Rashawn and Raina. She had been previously married, and really was a bad marriage. And then we had a son together, Elijah, and we actually lost a baby that I believe was a...
Oh, man. That had to have been hard.
Yeah. It was a rare blood malfunction, and actually the percent, a lot of women die of it.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, but that's me and Rhonda, we still have a good relationship, and because we still have Elijah together. But we
How old is Elisha?
21. He just turned
21.
21 in July.
Oh
January,
wow.
excuse me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, you, how long were you married to Rhonda?
So we were married 3 years before I went to prison.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So what caused, or I mean, you told me that you turned yourself in to go to
Yes.
prison. So you were in this marriage
Yeah.
and you already had your son, or no?
Yes. Yes.
So you already had your son
Yes.
and you had planned on staying married
Yeah.
at this
Yeah.
point?
Yeah.
And-
We believe that God put us together. Going back to Rashawn and Raina, Rashawn helped her in sports, taught her to drive, took her to get her first job at Brahms. Raina, I coached her basketball. The girls, they rode horses and stuff. Elijah grew up liking horses and stuff like that. So I was involved. I mean, we had what you would say a decent family, and I was still pursuing the NFL. I had odd jobs at the time. I used to be a waiter actually,
Mm.
while I was pursuing the NFL.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah, because for those that don't know, I mean, pursuing the NFL doesn't mean that you've made it. I mean, you're really
yeah,
just scraping by to try to get noticed
yeah,
to get into the
Yes.
NFL,
Yeah,
right?
just,
I mean,
waiting on a call, waiting on an invite to get a tryout somewhere.
yeah,
Hoping that you get a call, hoping that Bill Parcells calls me back.
yeah. And he never called you back. How many times do you think you called him?
Hey, I'm a lot. Every Monday for a while. Every Monday.
Wow.
And I mean, and that's one thing. I'm consistent. I mean, if I set my mind to something, that might get me in trouble sometime. But I'm pretty consistent. I think that gets me in trouble with horses. Don't buy another horse.
so you're married for like 3 years.
Yes.
Is it at that point that you turn your at what point do you turn yourself in?
So this is we'd been married for 3 years, and I just had a personal conviction of something that happened with me and Rashawn, and told Rhonda and told my pastors at this time, and automatically we sought for healing and we sought for counseling, etc. But at this time I was living in Oklahoma, and knowing that the law is that if anyone knows about neglect, it needs to be reported. And so I felt that it wasn't my pastor's job or Rhonda's job, and I went and turned myself into DHS one Friday afternoon. Actually, it was
Wow.
yeah. Now,
Dude, that's wild.
Yeah.
So you turned yourself in for what was considered sexual abuse, right?
yes,
That's what they
that's what is
reported.
yes.
I mean, if you look up,
Google it.
if
Yeah,
people look
exactly.
up your
Yeah.
name, you're
It's gonna have sexual abuse.
yeah.
Whatever it is.
I mean, the one paper or the one article actually said rape.
By instrument or
Yeah.
something like that. Which,
Yeah. So, I mean, people are gonna judge you from all different angles because of that. So, how did you deal with that? Because I mean, obviously, you turn yourself in. You know that's the right thing to do, right?
yes, sir.
And there's a lot of people out there that are maybe feeling that same conviction. They're just not doing it because of the consequences.
Yes, sir.
Like, what caused you to go and actually go ahead and do that? Because I mean, you could just live without doing that, right?
Exactly. So this story is pretty cool. Well, it's just my story. Well, a few months prior, is when God called me to preach. So this is 2006, I believe.
Now you've lost a lot of people
Yes.
because you're saying God called you to preach, and you had this thing.
Yes.
Some people are gonna think you're crazy.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But go ahead.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I it's not surprising that people would think I'm crazy but if you go through all through scripture, people who were used mighty by God,
Mm-hmm.
number one, didn't have clean backgrounds.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
number two, well, number one again, people called them crazy. So I'm in a good company.
Yep. Amen to that. Amen. I mean, I think, I mean, as some people are going to categorize it as that sin is unforgivable, right? And rightfully so. Like, if you don't understand it, right? If you don't understand it, so it's but I can just say from my own personal experience, like meeting you and hearing your story, there's been a real transformation there. There's been a real, I mean, just the way you talk about it and the way that obviously you're a believer, so you talk about God delivering you from that.
Yes.
Um,
So this is you want to know this is so liberating, and I'm gonna say this is so liberating. You know what? It is pressure off my back, which I've learned to cast this care upon my Lord, on the Lord. It's not my job to make you understand.
mm,
It's not my job to make her understand. It's not my
yeah,
job. It's not my job. God knows my heart, and it's not my job to make you understand.
that's good.
That is how I live my life. Now, sometimes you want people to understand. No, you don't. You don't understand. You don't understand it. They put that on there, and that ain't what happened. But I don't fight that fight. I don't fight that fight because I have a peace inside of me that God knows my heart, and I know what God has called me to do. And there are people who believe in me.
Yeah.
Give me opportunities, and that's who I'm rolling with. And there's some people who ain't, and I ain't tripping.
That's
That
good.
is simple.
That's good.
That is simple. People gonna always judge you. People gonna say you shouldn't have wore those shoes today. But I don't fight those fights.
Yeah.
It's what I've learned in this walk, in this trial, is that God is my vindicator. I don't have to. He is judge, jury, and all the above.
Yeah.
He makes the calls.
Yeah, that's so good. That's so good because it takes all the pressure off to perform, right?
Yes, and that's, I tell people this, but because of what I've went through in my life, and not just the prison and all that stuff, it's easy to fake the funk. People were put on facades every morning.
Yeah.
You people they put on their work face, their I'm happy face, but that ain't really what's going on. We sit on social media. Your social media life is different than your regular life.
Yeah.
My life is the same. Before I went to prison, when I went to prison, and when I got out of prison, you want to know what people knew before I went to prison? Working out, horses, fishing, and God. You know what I did in prison? Horses, working out, fishing, God. You know what I do now? Horses, working out, fishing, God. It ain't changed.
Yeah.
It ain't changed.
Yeah.
It has not changed. And that's what you can look at me, and even 9 years after being in prison, my life is consistent. You can look in the internet can say one thing, but my life, the consistency of 9 years is what speaks.
Yeah.
And I'll let that speak and be transparent and get on any podcast, television show, or whatever. Bring it on.
Yeah.
I'm not tripping.
Yeah.
It's all good. But to go back with me turning myself in, it hit the local news, it hit statewide news, etc. This has never happened. Family called me crazy. I grew up in a black church and branched away from a traditional black church, and I had white pastors. I went to, because I outgrew my faith, what I was being taught. And so I was in a cult.
Oh, wow.
All these things. And so with me turning myself in on that Friday, was in jail over the weekend. had a bail bondman, and for the crimes that I was committed of, there was a whole bunch of counts at first. The crimes that I was committed of, my bail bondman went and got another bail bondman because they thought that she wasn't going to have enough collateral to bond me out. God worked through it also, the people who questioned my faith, whatever, when I'm telling you this. So my bond was $25,000. It cost me $2,500 to get out of jail.
Wow.
In most cases, it would have been $250,000.
Mm.
And it would have been $25,000 to get out.
Yeah.
God showed me favor with my attorney. I had an attorney that worked for me.
Okay.
So everybody didn't think, well, I was supposed to, my attorney told me that I should qualify for a deferred sentence. That if I'd be on probation for several years, and if I never got in trouble, it'd be clean slate.
Yeah.
Because nobody never does anything like this. And even Rashawn, she testified like it wasn't what it was portrayed to be.
Oh, wow.
On the internet.
Okay.
And that's the same thing. I'm not going to try to beg somebody to try to understand, to tell the details of what happened.
Yeah, but I think it's important for people to hear this because of how articles are put out there and how the news releases certain things, because I've seen, now that I kind of see the back end of different stories and actually understand what's going on, it's very disturbing to me on how the media puts certain things out there for the public to see, really, really damaging. Not that you didn't, obviously, you miss it and it was horrible, but if there was consent from both sides, then it's painted in a way, they've painted it in a way that's really demonizing the one side. And I feel like, although, you should do your time, you did your time for the crime that you committed. So, whatever that crime was, the media has done no favors to how they've portrayed this whole thing.
So, prime example, let's bring it back home to good old United States of America. Our glorious president, Donald Trump. Look at all the accusations that Trump has been under.
Yeah.
And look, I think the election was rigged prior to Biden getting in, but that's my opinion. But look how this man is out of office, and look what they've tried to do to keep this man down.
Yes.
Look, this is the media. And so the same thing about our correction system in our society. Here you have a guy that committed a crime, and he serves his debt to society, but then you keep trying to beat him up when he gets out. And you wonder why the system has second and third time offenders, because society keeps beating them up by mistake. Now, they want grace when it happened to them.
Yeah.
Now, if our DA's in town, 18-year-old son sleeps with a 16-year-old girl, we don't want to magnify that.
Yes.
But we have Trump for an example. The people have spent millions of dollars to try to belittle and make him into a criminal, and he's did nothing but good for our country.
Yeah. And tax dollars on top of that.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. So it goes back to I end up, people throughout the community, man, we can't see you going to prison. We can't see you going to prison. My attorney, I can't see you going to prison, this and that. Like I said, I've been involved in the community. I had people, educators, etc., stand up on my behalf, but you don't have that on the internet.
Yeah.
Pastors stand up on my behalf. You don't have that on the internet, but it's all good. And so I end up getting sentenced to 4 counts, and I end up getting sentenced to 25 years of prison.
Wow.
So,
what was... Man.
So this how it was broke down. 9, 6, and 2 5s. And so in the state of Oklahoma, for a violent crime, you have to do 85% of your time before you come up for parole. So in all actuality, I got a life sentence.
Mm.
25 plus, you might as well say it's life. So I had got sentenced to that. Didn't give me time to get my house in order per se, and boom, I was sentenced. So automatically, I fought my case, and there is I appealed my case, and there is a law in the state of Oklahoma law book, Pickens versus the state of Oklahoma unlawfully sentence of 85%. A lot of people don't know that. Also.
Yeah, I saw that. The question that I had is, okay, you turn yourself in on a Friday. I mean, this takes place very quickly, doesn't it? Like you go into jail, you get bailed out, and then how long do you have until you go back in?
I was sentenced June 26, 2006. Wednesday, June 26.
So it's from Friday to Wednesday, or was it several weeks?
No,
or
it was several months.
Several months.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, I went to court a few times. Had
okay.
Things,
gotcha.
Then it was the 20.
Because they just didn't think. I mean, you're essentially a free man, as in you were able to operate in society, so because of the nature of the case, they allowed you to go back home and.
Well, no, actually, so I separated from my wife and kids.
Oh, you got separated immediately.
Yes,
okay.
Yes. Couldn't be close to the girls.
Was that the state's choice, or was that your all's decision?
Yeah, the state.
That was the state. But before you turned yourself in, you guys were working it out amongst yourselves.
Yes,
okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Gotcha. Wow. That's a lot to deal with, because did you think of all that would take place, or most of what's going to take place when you turn yourself in?
I had no idea.
Are you serious?
I was doing what was right before God.
Wow.
I had no idea.
That's crazy.
No, I just knew that I had to do what was right before God.
So you did that, and
nobody forced me. Nobody put a gun.
Yeah.
I mean, that's.
So then, you get separated. What does that look like? Because you got to have a place to stay, right?
I slept in trucks. I slept at people's houses. I was. Matter of fact, there was a guy that I tell you what I was doing. I ended up hot-shotting, driving to delivering arenas, roping arenas.
Oh, okay.
And driving to Colorado, Washington, all kind of places, and we'd haul arenas all across the country. Louisiana, and then like some places, Colorado, we'd bring hay and stuff back. But
okay.
That's what I was doing. Mr. Burns, and matter of fact, there's a gentleman. He let me stay at his place, and I helped him out hot shotting. And when he was out of town, I kept his animals and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there were times where I slept in my truck and.
Wow, so you were just on the go. You couldn't see the girls, you couldn't see your wife.
Yeah. And there, like I said, it had to be special arrangements where I could be with Elijah.
Oh, wow.
And he was 3 at the time.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir.
Gotcha. So you did that for how long?
That was
just a few months?
Yeah, from March to June, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you get sentenced.
Yes, sir.
Man, what was that like? Because you go into court that morning not knowing what to expect, right?
So what's funny, the news was there, and a guy that was in jail, he said his mom seen me on the news, and she said I laughed, and I did. I laughed when he said 6 years. I laughed. I was like, this ain't God's will for me. Just like Abraham, just like Sarah laughed when God told her she was gonna have a baby in her late age, she laughed.
Yeah.
Actually, that's what Isaac means, son of laughter.
Mm.
I'm like, man, this ain't it. The stuff that I've been through in life and how far I've come in life, this is not it.
But it looks like a really, really low point. I mean, obviously you had the confidence within to say, like, this is not it, right? And you had the understanding to know that God has a greater plan. But from the outside looking in, it's like, man, this guy,
Yeah.
it's just another guy going to jail. Like,
It, you know what was crazy goes back to my uncle. You're gonna be dead or in jail by the age of 21.
mm,
Now, I did a lot of stuff in the streets growing up. I mean, I told my wife the other day, like, I mean, I've robbed people at gunpoint. I've had shootouts with people. I've been on the middle of Main Street, downtown Armour, with a SKS 47 right, shooting at a guy. And I mean, so many things what we call in the hood penitentiary chances. I've been up and down 35 with pounds of marijuana. I've had powder. I mean, all kind of things that could have got me in prison growing up.
wow,
And
that's
then-
crazy.
And then you escape out of that, go to California, make a name for football, pursuing the NFL, and then this. And I actually coached. I coached at Ardmore. I was helped high school football.
Okay.
I mean, involved in the community, involved in my church. You fill in the blank, and
Just like that, it's gone. And then, but then you go in to get sentenced.
so I don't know if I told you this the other day. So I get sentenced, and so automatically I talked to my lawyer and I said I want to appeal this because I didn't know that it was with me taking a plea deal that it was going to be 85%
Mm.
of my time. I might have would have did it different, but I wasn't educated that I was going to have to do 85% of my time.
Mm.
So that was 25 years. Well, I end up and I'm in the county jail for several months, and they call now in the county guys who have been to prison. They's like, boy, I can't wait to get out of the county. I can't wait to get out of the county. I'm ready to get on the yard. That's what they call a prison. I'm ready to get to the yard because in the yard you got freedom and you can walk and blah, 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 and you got all these different things.
Mm.
Well, I'm scared to death and I don't want to go to prison. I don't want, they call it pulling chain. I don't want to pull chain. I'm believing God is going to turn my case around and that I ain't going to never step a foot on a prison yard.
Yeah.
Well, I was in the county like 9 months. So many stories I could tell you about the county, good and bad. But I pulled chain. I believe it was in March, and they do not transport female and males together.
Mm.
They got a van that they transport when you pull chain. My youngest sister is 8 months pregnant, sitting in front of me. Me and my youngest sister go to prison together.
What? Dude, that's wild.
8 months pregnant.
What in the world? How did that happen? You guys were in the same jail and they
Yes.
transported you?
So my youngest sister, Nikita, bad on drugs. Bad on drugs. And she been in and out jail and this and that. Well, I didn't know, but she evidently while I was in jail, she got sentenced to prison too.
Oh my goodness. That's
My
crazy.
youngest sister and me go to prison together. And she is 8 months pregnant. So we get to Lexington. That's where A&R, a rival where everybody goes, big place, before they're spread out to different prisons in the state of Oklahoma. And so my sister, we pull up and she is freaking out. And I started praying for my sister. This is a part of the story.
Mm.
I started praying for my sister. And the guard who was driving the van says, "Oh."
What?
So I'm in A&R, and so AR, you get blood work. They do
Mm-hmm.
blood work on you for everything. Most humbling experience, tattoo check. So I'm in a room of 20, 30 guys stripped down butt naked, and guards have a chart, and you're just standing there. And you talking about humility and being at the lowest point where you're standing in a room of men butt naked, and guards got a chart to marking tattoos.
What in the world to identify you with?
Yes, yeah, if you're gang related, etc.
Mm.
Uh, you'd be the door that you'd get up in the middle of the night for a different test, and the door would just walking. I still have the habit sometimes of walking with my hands behind my back. Uh,
It's because that's what you were doing every day. It's
yes,
walking.
in A&R. And so they called me out of my cell at A&R, a psychiatrist, and told me that my nephew was going to be a crack baby.
What in the world?
Yeah.
Why would they do that?
Because of my sister's condition, that I was going to be a crack baby. So go through A&R in very, very, very humbling experience. And so this is a deal. I'm just telling you prison life. So people, sex crime, you're at the bottom of the chart, and people get extorted through sex crimes. And so you don't want to tell nobody you're in there for a sex crime.
Oh, wow.
It might have been people from your town that would, and all the above, which that happened to me numerous times. But I had a whole bunch of paperwork because I was fighting my case, and I got smart. I tore my paperwork up and flushed it because I didn't want nobody to know that I was in on a sexual crime.
Wow. So how did you keep that a secret?
It ended up didn't, but I mean, I was just thoughts of survival.
So
go through A&R, and I end up getting sent to a yard, and it's called Dick Connors. Dick Connors is in Hominy, Oklahoma, and Dick Connors is considered a bloodbath yard. A lot of gang violence. You got the Indian Brotherhood, which are savages on prison yards. You got all your different gangs, Crips, Bloods, and different sets of Crips, different sets of Bloods. You got your Aryan Brotherhood, your white gang. You got your Mexicans. You got your gangster disciples. And then you got dope mixed in with that. You got cell phones, which are contact through drugs, porn, and even tipping off another yard that, hey, this guy's leaving here and he snitched. Take him out.
Oh my goodness. What in the world? So who really runs the prison?
You know who Paul Harvey is, don't you?
Yes.
So Paul Harvey said, I'll never forget this to you people listening out there. He said, do you want to find the scum of the world? He says, DOC parking lot is shift change. And for you people who don't know what DOC is, Department of Corrections. And that was Paul Harvey. And so
wow.
I'm at Dick Connors, and people had outrageous sentences. Life without, 100 years, 100 plus 80. And here I am with a 15-year sentence, and you're not going to hear me complain because people get killed with small sentences.
Oh, wow.
Because, what are you complaining about? You got a 15-year sentence. You're going to see light again. I got life plus 85 years. So I don't have nothing to lose. That's why I'll do dope. That's why I don't care about having a cell phone. That's why I'll have homosexual activity with punks. It don't matter.
Oh my goodness.
My life.
So extreme, like, animal mentality. I mean, just like
Tupac said, the pen is right across from hell. I can verify it.
Dude, that's insane. Cause isn't there a process for newcomers where, you have to select or you have to be a part of a gang? You can't be as a.
Well, that's why I'm saying you go into the chow hall, and for you people out there, the chow hall is where you eat it, and you have different tables. You got Crips, you got Bloods, you got different sets of Crips. The neighborhoods sit over here, the Hoovers sit over here. You got your Bloods over here. You got your GDs here. You got your white boys here. You got your punks here. You got your Christians here. And for people who don't know, they identify sex offenders as chomos. And you got your chomos that sit over here.
And so they knew that you were a sex offender coming into this, or you still kept it a secret?
Some people knew, but I didn't sit with the chomos.
Gotcha. Where did you sit?
A neutral spot. But I got so many stories that I had gang bangers and racist white boys, and I had from staff, I had respect all over the yard. And the same thing, I've had OGs of gangs have me sit at the table with them, and they like, what is he doing here? He's here with me. Shut your mouth and eat. I got stories of guards. I got guards on my phone I could call right now. Hey, Pick, what's up? And I mean, the list goes on and on. So once again, when people want to question my calling, when I say God has called me, I did 8 years and 2 months in prison, and nobody never laid a hand on me.
Wow.
Nobody never laid a hand on me.
That's amazing.
8 years and 2 months in prison.
That's unheard of, isn't it?
Especially with a sex crime.
Yeah.
And especially being on the yards that I was. So at Dick Connors, I'm still fighting my case. And so I get called into the well, I'm at this unit when I first get there, and people's like, man, you're cool and blah, blah, blah. And man, all the different yards are good units, but you don't want to go to G&J. G&J is a bloodbath. And I can remember a white boy crying. It's like, don't send me to G&J. So I get called into the case manager's office. Where do I get sent to? G&J.
Oh, man.
And my roommate is a 6'6" homosexual named Red. And as I'm walking in, I got my box, and I said, okay, Lord, what you want to do? Because I know you want to do something. Second, one of the first guys I seen on G&J was a guy from Ardmore. Had 2 life sentences. Killing a pizza man when I was young. 2 life sentences. And this is something that he told me, and I'll never forget. He said, keep your grass cut low so you can see the snakes.
Wow.
Keep the grass cut low so you can see the snake.
What did he mean by that? What did that statement mean to you?
Stay on your P's and Q's. So think about this. If this is cut low, you can see. If a snake is there, you don't want to get bit. But if it's growed up, a snake can hide in there, and you go reach there and you get bit. And so it's like, stay ready from having to get ready. Pay attention. Keep your head on the swivel.
Gotcha. Just from somebody jumping you or doing something crazy that you're not expecting.
And we go back to being gang related. So when you're from certain towns, people know what gangs you're from.
Oh,
so when you're from Ardmore, automatically neighborhood Crip. Oh man, you must be 90s or 60s Crip. And so I got try to get thrown under the bus of being a gangbanger.
Gotcha.
So you gotta keep your head on.
Okay. So you gotta just be able to be able to see and to be able to be very quick with responses when people are trying to come at you.
Because you never know when it's gonna pop off. You never know. You're standing in the chow line. It could pop off. You standing in line for canteen. It could pop off. You could be standing in line. You could be in chapel and it pop off.
Yeah.
You gotta.
What were some of the worst things that you saw, if you don't mind sharing, in prison, like that you saw happening?
Extortion.
Okay.
I never seen anybody shoot up until I got to prison.
Oh wow,
And
that's
not
crazy.
not just that, but look, this is the crazy deal. A whole yard or a whole unit sharing the same needle. Uh, I've seen some.
I mean, people are going to prison for that out on the streets, and then they're in prison doing the same exact thing. So where's the
That's
law in that?
well, that's why it's no true rehabilitation in prison unless you rehabilitate yourself.
Mm,
Because you're getting 3 meals and a bed and television and all the above. There's no consequences in prison really, unless you have family like I did, and you got a son growing up. But some guys don't care about their family. I mean, it's a comfort
mm.
zone. It's a total comfort zone.
That's wild.
Oh, the betting system pertaining to sports in prison is just as big as Vegas.
Jeepers.
People being brutally uh, beat. I've seen that. Uh, the homosexuality is crazy. It's crazy. You got hardcore gangbangers, but they'll go cuckoo for cocoa for punk.
That's insane. So you see injustice in there,
Oh yes.
and you ever at any point try to step in and say, "Hey, don't mess with this guy."
You know, I once again I've always been the one to stand up for what I think is right,
Yes.
and I've stood for righteousness, and the same thing. Uh, White boys were big about trying to extort people, and I had
That's
yeah,
crazy.
I had this gentleman. Black people don't really mess with black people with sexual charges.
Mm.
White people are bad about it. Indians kinda, Mexicans kinda, but white boys are bad about it, extorting their own kind pertaining to sexual charges. But
Gotcha.
I had a guy named Red, and I called him Monk. He was an ex boxer, and I mean same thing. Uh, I'll never forget this, and this is the respect. And these what people don't realize. If anybody wants to question my faith, guys have been in prison, and they know who's real and know who's not. They've seen them come through the fake, and they've seen what quote you call the jailhouse
Mm.
for religion. And Unc, he said this about me. He said somebody asked him, man, if you got $10 million, what would you do? He said, number one, I give my nephew, he called me nephew, $1 million to have him preaching on television.
Wow.
And that same Unc, so we were living in a pod, and when I say a pod, it's a big room, big open room, and it's bunk beds, nothing but bunk beds. And
Mm.
then open shower, open pot, and everything. Then had 2 televisions up in the front, and the whole building is like that. It's different pods: A pod, B pod, C pod, D pod. And the white boys were trying to extort people at one time, and he got up in front of the whole pod, and he grabbed me. He said, "Hey, y'all can do whatever y'all want to y'all kind, but if y'all think about putting a finger on this one right here, y'all gonna have problems."
Wow.
Serious.
Dude, that is
Serious.
awesome.
And I've had people. So going back to sports, I dominated in prison in sports. Like I was good in softball. We had our softball team won championship like 3 years in a row. I played basketball, and I even refed and stuff like that. And same thing, people
Mm.
would try to discredit me because I had a sexual charge, and even flag football. But I was like, you can say whatever, just don't put your hands on me. You can call me whatever and say whatever, but when you put me in a place where I got to defend myself, I'm gonna let you know it.
Mm.
And like I said, nobody never put a hand on me. Now you better believe people wanted to and try to take cheap shots, etc.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, this has been a very, very incredible podcast. And thank you for sharing your heart. Thank you for being vulnerable and being like opening up and sharing these stories. I think we're gonna have to um, have you back on
Yes,
to
sir.
continue the story, because we're 2 hours in.
Yes, sir.
And so I just want to say that I really appreciate your testimony
Yes, sir.
and what you've shared and how vulnerable you've been today. And I believe that a lot of people can relate to your story, and you're going to continue to make a difference in people's lives, and God's going to continue to use you. And so with that, thank you for watching today. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And we appreciate all of your support on the podcast, and we appreciate you guys tuning in to the next episode as well. And we'll see you in the next video.